everybody. Hello, hello. Been a couple days since I've gone live. I haven't seen everybody in a while. Astra is here to visit. You're going to see a different view today as I'm on my tablet. A couple things have happened. My laptop died. It's at the computer doctor's. Let's hope that it gets some repairs. I've been adjusting to it, and I have been by the computer doctor. It's at least another couple weeks before I get it back. And so I was playing around with my tablet this morning, and I thought, I think I can figure out how to go live. I haven't used the YouTube app on my tab before, so it's all an adjustment. So we'll just see what happens. But I drew some cards for us today. My name is Red Moon Eagle. This is Daily Devotions with Red Moon Eagle. And there are over 365 videos on my YouTube channel. You are welcome to go check any of them out. Basically what Daily Devotions is something that I do every day. And when I do it with y'all, I draw cards and we talk about themes and we kind of put something to go out in the world today. And there are helicopters in the background. I live right next to the airport, and there's a famous person coming into the valley today. And so there's a lot of noise. So if you hear stuff, it's nothing that I can help. Okay, so we're going to start with, and I use a flow process for this particular set of cards. And we're going to start with the Sacred Geometry Activations. It is card number 43. It's beautiful transition. The frequency of transition supports our deep understanding of the ever-changing nature of the existence of our lives so that we can learn to let go and surrender the process and allow transitions to occur with ease and grace. Transition can be described as the passage from one stage to another. However, deeply or mildly, it impacts our lives. Transition always applies to change of some sort, and most of us are afraid of change. We want things to stay the same. We want to stay in the comfort zone we've created. Unfortunately, change is the one certainty in life that we can all count on. Change is necessary to allow room for the new to emerge and the old to pass. Change is necessary for growth to occur. Change is a fundamental universal law. Transition describes this process of change, a time when things are moving, morphing, shifting, and in the midst of the process, it's common for nothing to feel clear, comfortable, or safe. Being pushed and pulled from one existence, being pushed and pulled from our existing state into one that is unfamiliar isn't easy, and the most feared transition of all is the one we face eventually, death. Transition from our physical body to the world of spirit. Because we have so little understanding of the true nature of our existence and of our connection to the cosmos, we tend to fear the perceived ending. As this activation, snake is a traditional symbol for death and transition in many cultures and belief systems due to its perceived ability to be reborn many times during its lifetime by shedding its skin. Behind it, the background shows not only the grid of the flower of life, the connection to the earth plane, but also the Merkaba, a reference to our existential ability to traverse the time and dimension. The colors of indigo, violet, and magenta are indicated deep spiritual connection to the cosmos and the whole of existence, making any transition but a moment in an ongoing infinite journey. Beautiful card. Okay, so that's the 1-5 connection. We'll talk about all of these here in a minute. Okay, 2 and 6. I don't think my stand is going to work like that, but we'll try. Okay, so this is Baba Yaga, 2, 6. I'm a very special witch, mostly known and feared in Russia. I live in this strange and frightening little house that you can see. I have a great power over the animals of the forest, and this, I must confess, I always love human flesh as a treat, most especially women's flesh. Those who meet me will never forget this encounter. My message is that a time of great and powerful initiation has come for you. You are in the middle of a dark and creepy forest, standing at the doorstep of a strange house, where lives and even more strange and scary creatures. Your courage is going to be put to the test. You will experience tears, doubt, fear, but you will also learn a great deal about yourself, discovering your deepest strength and inner truths. It won't always be easy in the end. It will make you grow. Okay, so that's 2, and we're going to come back to these. 3-7 is the thinker, knowledge, instruction, and reinvention. I actually really love this card. It's beautiful. So the thinker is part of the Republic of Pandemonium. The city of Pandemonium and its surrounding lands belong not to the gods, but to the archons of human. These icons bound themselves in life not to God's ways, but the human ideals, becoming the idols and objects of veneration in their own way. To dwell in Pandemonium is to still be bound by the tempered gods and the ability of human life, whether the glory of success or the haunting specter of failure. And the thinker is the father of knowledge. The thinker's formidable intellect has persisted even into the afterlife. He has no illusions about who or what he is in life or in death. His will and reason formations of the city district around him, and he uses his knowledge to instruct those who come to the University of the Mind. The thinker teaches us that there is no state from which we cannot learn, and that often the best way to improve is to teach knowledge with others. His domains are knowledge, instruction, and reinvention. Really good. Okay. And then the final card is from the Lantern Oracle. And this is false belief. Once the untruth that we believe about ourselves are illuminated, so are the ways we can release the false limitations that confine to us. And this is a beautiful card. So this is in the phase of the mother, young adulthood, passion and choices, trial and error, creativity, betrayal, disillusionment, and being broken. Dominantly invisible. So are the ways they influence experience of reality. Our false beliefs act as tinted lenses that harmfully distort our perception of the world and others is possible and ourselves. Example. You might believe the falsehood that you are not good enough, that you're unlovable, or that you're bad. Such inaccurate convictions will make sense of your experience, as well as the influence and the impossibly high or dangerously low standards you have for yourself, others, and dynamics. False beliefs have the potential to be particularly dangerous because we cannot see when others are using them to manipulate and take advantage of us. Our false beliefs blind us to what we allow into our life, we co-create or even perpetually repeat in an unwanted, toxic, or even potentially dangerous situation. When we can see how our thoughts and choices contribute to what has happened to us, we have the key to set ourselves free. Upon learning to see clearly and truthfully, it is up to us to replace our false beliefs with true ones and to live by them. This is to love ourselves enough to replace the lies such as, I am not worthy, with the truth that it is, I am worthy. The feature of the mother supports you in centering yourself with the magnificent light of your spirit self. She encourages you to walk your path to the pace and the rhythm of your own beat and to turn every obstacle to a way forward. This card suggests some of increasing awareness. By identifying what is actually taking place for you in the present, your refined clarity and focus will begin to change. It is up to you to continue this process of awakening your true self and questioning, reflecting, and actively dissolving whatever misbeliefs are blocking from your power. Like the featured mother, walk only at your own pace according to your own inner knowing. Step by step, you will incrementally see what needs to next and how you can go about it. Journaling is a useful tool and a most empowering ally for this kind of work. Talking through what comes up in your journaling with someone safe, like a counselor, and set and form can be an incredible benefit. False beliefs create darkness in areas where the mind requires the light the most. Hold every question in the illuminating space of your heart. Accept the answer that shines through, even when it is contrary to what you want to be. The heart, like the owl, is too wise and white to ever lie or mislead. That's beautiful. Okay. So what do we have here? Oh, we have some beautiful cards. So we're going to go back to transition. So 1-5 is what's the creative idea? What's the pattern? What's the connection? What's the intuition of what's next, right? Like, where are we going? 5 is crown. It's way up here. It's that crown connection to the 360. It's what is up and recognize that is also below, that there is light and dark. 5 is the recognition of all the transformational processes that are coming together and that they fit. They all fit in a thing. And 1 is the creative process of that transition. That understanding the ever-changing nature of existence, we learn to surrender with ease and grace. 1 is that beautiful play. It's the creative play, leaning into transitions and changes and finding the creativity and the opportunities in that. That's that 1-5 dynamic. And I love how this book points out that transition implies change, and people are terrified of change. I've said that for years. Fear is when you encounter something that's new, fear kicks in. People are scared of that. And one of the biggest gifts I ever gave myself was learning how to lean into change and be afraid of it. And honestly, my father and my grandmother were very instrumental in teaching me that. My father was very good about, change can be scary, but it's also exciting because there's energy behind that change and transitions like that. I love that they use the image of the snake, and there's a Merkaba in the background. There's this idea that we come here and intergenerationally, when you have a lot of trauma, there's families that they don't want to change. They want it to be the exact same from generation to generation. It's always this way. And even as I get older and I talk with more of my friends who've gotten into genealogy, and we used to do it this way, and they're kicking in old recipes and they're honoring their ancestors. That doesn't mean I want to go back 200 years and go to the point where I have an outhouse. I like my flushing toilet. I really do. But I too can be nostalgic for things that are part of my DNA, my ancestry, how things were done. I want to go back there because I know that no matter what I fantasize about the past, and I belong to a historical recreation group, which is a nonprofit, education-based. I've been involved with decades now. And for as much as I love history because it teaches us. It teaches us about human behavior. It teaches us about so much about who we are. It also shows us what we probably don't want to go back to. So, transition is really important. Now, looking at Delanute and the 2-6, we have Baba Yaga. Baba Yaga, excuse the train, sorry about that. Baba Yaga, I think, is really a powerful transition card because this is really the shadow of that 2-6 dynamic where I'm afraid that I'm not good enough to be loved, and I don't know who I am. I am no one without someone, or I can't do enough to get safety in relationship of self, right? Like knowing who I am. Oh, she sees something in the grass. And what Baba Yaga says is it's a time of great and powerful initiation. In the middle of the darkness, in the middle of the shadow, there's even more shadow, right? But you will also learn a great deal about yourself. You discover your deepest instincts and truths when everything is dark around you. And this is a really powerful awareness in the 2-6 dynamic, because if that 2 influence is I know one without someone, or I don't know who I am, and the 6 dynamic is I'm not never going to be good enough to be loved. Those are really deep, depressing thoughts, right? Like those are true depressing. No matter what I do, no matter what I try to accomplish, no matter what I know about myself, it never gets better. I don't know how to please people. I don't know how to get my needs. And it teaches you one way or the other how to clarify what your needs are. You know, we are in a position in the earth plane where there's no telepathy here. Like there's no like knowing what somebody else is thinking. You can learn their signals, you can learn their body language, you can get them to talk to you, hopefully. You learn a lot of different ways of communication. But telepathy is kind of hard, at least amongst humans, right? And the shadow card here is the darkest of all of them in this, and we're going to come back to this 2-6. But if transition is happening and change is necessary, and you go to the deepest, darkest shadow of yourself, you will learn. And it can be really scary, and it can be really heavy, and it's a real place. And I truly believe that there are some of us that go through some of the deepest gauntlet of this to release all this generational stuff, to be more present and let go of all the complexities of the karma that we encounter, right? So then we have 3-7, and I thought this card picked because there's a complexity with the 3-7 of the 3 shadow is wound up in safety. There's a seeking of safety, that 3. And there's also the trying to collect all the pieces of the information and the knowingness to be safe, to have all the pieces in place to be safe, and having it be the right time, enough time to process it. And the father of knowledge, thinker, the father of knowledge is also tied into the 7 dynamic. Why? Why is it happening? Why does it have to be this way? And unfortunately, right now in the metaphysical community, one of the things I see a lot is, I'm going to use the word spiritual bypassing. There's this complexity of, well, if you're just positive, it'll get better. If you're just do this, it's better. And I've talked about, having a better mindset. And I've talked about, working on your stuff. But I've also talked about working on stuff where you are trying to change your mental attitude to help you with that, right? But in the metaphysical community, one of the things that happens is, and I've been to so many works, I've listened to so many YouTube channels, I've listened to all of this, and a lot of it is just go into your mind, right? Like your why and your who and your connection, the thinker is the one that is leaned into. Now, the thinker has a powerful message for the 3-7, which is knowledge, instruction, reinvention. And very mind-oriented. 7 is right here, and 3 is right here. And 7 and 3 are very good about being in the mind. Only 3's handicap is they get stuck in their mind. And the 7 doesn't necessarily get stuck, I don't think. Well, I guess they do sometimes, existential dread. But in the metaphysical community, we mind bejimini. This is what I call it, the minding. You mind the bejiminis out of something. They also talk, in the metaphysical communities, body, mind, spirit. And it's wheel. It's missing the emotion part of the wheel. If you only look at 3 pieces of the wheel, you don't have the whole pie. And the outside of the wheel is community. And in the thinker card, it's the meat of the transformation. It's of this transition process, of this flow process, where we're looking at change, movement, things happening, and that creates all of the shadows to come out. Fear of self, the fear of connection, fear of knowing yourself, fear of and the disappointment of not being able to connect with yourself and not knowing how to be who you are, not knowing who you are, not feeling good enough to be able to be who you are, right? And then the thinker comes in, and our paradigm in our medical community is, well, we're just going to think positive thoughts. We're just going to think good things about each other. We're not going to have negative emotion, right? Like it disentangles you. The thinker card can often disentangle you or disconnect you. Sorry, not disentangle. Disconnect you from the wheel and the process of moving. The process of moving and the process of really going deep into the emotions. The 3 dynamic is often turned into this almost toxic positivity thing where it's, well, there's joy and there's love, and we're just going to, all the bad things aren't there. We're just not going to go to the depth of the shadow of our bodies, shadow of what's living there and where all this stuff comes from. And that is so toxic. You can overthink something. You can go into the mind and disconnect from the body. It happens all the time. One of the things that I have fought in all of the spiritual metaphysical communities for decades is this idea that, well, if we mind and spirit, if we think about spirit, then we ignore all the meat suit stuff. We can transcend, right? But you meat suit here for a reason. You can't get to there without the lived experience and connecting to all the layers of the body. Get out is to go in to get out. And it's a very real process that our ancestral indigenous communities and shamans know that. They teach it. It's integral to how communities work in with indigenous cultures. Just ask them. And then the final card is the Lantern Oracle. And this is the card that really sums it up. It brings it all together. The false beliefs. So these are the 3 cards we've got, and now we're at false beliefs. And false beliefs really got summed up really well at the very end. False beliefs create darkness in areas where the mind requires light the most. Hold everything in question, the illuminating space of your heart. Accept the answer that shines through, even when it is contrary to what you want it to be. The heart, like the owl, is too wise and white, never lie or mislead. So this is 4-8. And 4-8 is all about that body. We're connecting back into the body, the fear, this transition place of fear, deep understanding of the ever-changing existent nature of our lives. Think about how we live in human bodies. We're young, we're babies, we're growing, we get big, we go through our teenagers, we kind of lose our mind a little bit, we become adults. We live the adult life until we age, and I'm using all these words like quotation marks if you're just listening to this. But say we age, and that's another transition, right? And what happens when we age? As women, we go through menopause, our bodies change again, we have these huge changes, and our bodies over time, I remember talking to an elder once. And they're like, just when you start thinking you're figuring it out, your body starts changing again, and you got to figure it all out again. Our constant in change. And the 4-8 dynamic is about the body experience. It really is about being authentic. Are you going to come up here, Astra? You can come back up. Is the body dynamic. It's still in this space, in this 3D existence. The being real. And this false beliefs, when you hold on, when you're holding on to the shadow, you're overthinking it, and you're trying to avoid any part of the wheel, you have a tendency to hold on to false fears with conditions and change. And when you hold on to them, you hold on to that in your body, and your body holds on to it. And you find yourself reacting rather than responding, because your body just does things. I went through being really sick a couple of years ago, more than a couple of years ago, but about a decade ago, I guess now. And I was really, really sick. And one of the things that was happening with my physical body is it was reacting, because I was physiologically very ill, and mentally, emotionally, I had finally basically caught up to my body, because they were two separate things happening. And I would react, and the reactions were startling, and I'd feel like I'd just cry, and I had these huge emotional swings. Now, I was also going through menopause, I was really sick, like I had a lot of things happen at one time. But false beliefs that I had to let go of is that, and I still say it occasionally, I'm still working through it, but this is coming from intergenerational trauma from my mom's side, which is my body hates me, right? And those of you that know me, you've heard me say it, and every time I say it, I go, I gotta really stop saying that, because that's a false belief. It doesn't hate me. My body is my altar. It was given to me by Earth herself. I am a child of the goddess, just like all of us are. And my body doesn't hate me. It is my temple, and I need to honor it. And you say those things, it inhibits your continued transition, right? And I'm working on mine. But the false belief that you can't be loved, that you can't be anyone without someone, that you don't know yourself, or that if you think your way out of it, if you mentally understand all the intricacies and all the pieces, and you have all the answers, then you'll be able to without fear. Transitioning and growing and having fear is part of the human experience. And learning how to let go of those limitations. And one of the things that we can release is that we hold on often in our society to this belief. I want to find it because it said it really well in the book. Yes, I'm not worthy. And we are worthy. We are worthy to have the experiences that enrich our lives, that connect us to each other. The most powerful things that I've leaned into in the last couple weeks is the realization that as things are taught, right, as we learn and experience, even things in oracle cards, right? Like you read something, you're like, wow, that's a truth with a capital T, as my friend Gloria says. And that's a beautiful thing, right? Those truths with capital T change, but the dynamics of how you apply them change, so that different circumstances give you different perspectives and lenses of that truth with a capital T. So I remember somebody saying, the shadow is the evil within us. Somebody said that years ago. And I thought, that's a very interesting perspective. I don't think there's evil in people. So the shadow is talking about the shadow, but they had the belief that meant there was something evil about them, because that comes from a particular religious paradigm. But at least they were recognizing the shadow. The shadow was acknowledged. T with a capital T, shadow, right? And the same person would say, but the soul is perfect in God. And I go, that's an interesting statement. The soul is love, right? And they'd go, yeah. And I went, okay, so that's a truth, capital T. The soul is love. We are divine entities. Well, yeah. And then it would go sideways, because the religious comment would come in about the evil. So we have to let go of our false beliefs, of this idea that we're unworthy, that we're never going to be good enough. We're never going to know ourselves. We have to have somebody to know ourselves, that we're going to into the mind and we're going to understand all the things. There are things that our human mind cannot understand right now, and that is okay. It's okay that I have dyscalculia and that I have a really hard time with basic math. I do. I have a really hard time with it. Numbers are hard. And I'm okay with that. I'm okay with knowing I have dyscalculia, numbers are hard, and that it's okay. Not holding on to I'm never going to fix it, or why do I have dyscalculia? How do I find the cure for it? I manage it, I work with it, and I'm okay with that. The meat suit has some limitations, and I'm okay with that. I don't have to know all the things to still work on all the things that are brought to me by universe, to work on in myself, and then turn my work into how do I take this learning and share that? How do I share that journey? Not making it about me, but how do I share it so we all know we're part of the community together and we don't have to do this alone? Because so many transitions trigger that fear, that snake eating its own tail, the constant movement between light and shadow. So many people are doing it alone in our society and in our world. And a huge disconnect in our world between, okay, I have a roof and I have a clean toilet and I have the ability to be safe, right? How many people don't have that? I've been lucky in one way. I've been homeless before. I've lived in my vehicle. And I was able to transition out of that. How many people don't get to do that? How many people are right now? How many people are, no matter what they try to do, they can't crawl out of it? And it's not because they're not hard workers or they're not trying. It's a many layers of intersectionality. How many people are suffering the illness of drug abuse? How many are suffering with the illness of mental illness with drug abuse and or alcoholism? We have a system where we other people who go through transitions and get stuck in shadow places, and no matter how hard they try, they can't seem to get out of it. Is it their fault? Maybe it's not. A combination of we've disconnected all of ourselves from them. It's us and them. We've done it in politics, we've done it in healthcare, we've done it in housing. It's an us and them. That transition as a world has to happen where we stop othering people for where they are in their paradigm. And we have to give space, and we have to give opportunities that are real opportunities, not this ridiculous pull yourself up by the bootstraps, because that doesn't exist. And I've used that phrase, and it is quite toxic. Anyway, so I kind of went big, but for you, for today, one of the things that I took away from daily devotions is that things are ever changing, and it's important to acknowledge those changes. That the shadows of who I am and whether or not I'm going to be good enough for a relationship or whether or not the connection is going to be made is my own shadow. And I have to lean into trusting myself. I have to lean into the strengths and the experiences that I had, and not get stuck in my mind. Sometimes you just got to move and you have to do things. And you don't always have to have all the answers to get moving and to trust the transition process of when to. There's big transitions happening in my life, and my autism is like, oh, change. And my ADHD is going, yeah, this is exciting. And because of the duality of a mental health disability, an actual cognitive disability gives me this push and pull all the time. And it's okay because I'm not holding on to any false beliefs that, first off, I'm not going to do it perfectly. I'm not worried about what other people think. I'm going to do my best. And I'm also going to lean into the mistakes. I'm going to lean into the mistakes and go, this will teach me something. And I also know that the owl the heart of my connection to all of you, to the world, to Mother Earth herself, to my purpose here, gives me the light in the darkness. And the moon is hazel, right? Like there's luteal phases, and sometimes it's really bright and sometimes it's in the dark. And as you transition through all of this, the owl, the representation of the moon, and the owl, which is also the inner wisdom and the heart that we carry with us as entities in this meat suit, helps keep it. And we're going to be okay. Yeah, there's huge changes coming in my life. The next month is going to be, woo! Months is probably going to be absolute craziness. And I'm okay with that. Because it's these amazing changes that help me grow. And I lean into it, no matter how uncomfortable it is. I know there's nothing to really be afraid of. I probably am going to be uncomfortable. There are changes that are going to happen. But there's so many opportunities to learn, to share what I learned, to be with people, to be in new communities, make new connections. Because all of those things happen because we're supposed to do it with each other. When we're growing in isolation and we stay in that shadow all by ourselves, it just gets deeper and darker. And we need each other. We need each other to grow. And you need to get frustrated that your friend only ever wants to talk about whatever it is they only ever want to talk about. I'm that person. All I ever talk about is spiritual things because that's what I do. And that's okay. I could talk about painting all day long. I could do that too. A beautiful day, my friends, and I hope you all find your way out of the shadow and the overthinking and lean into moving forward, trusting yourself, know that you're worthy, and that these transitions are not scary. They're comforting, and they draw us together often. Often they draw us together more than separating us. Even if you think you're absolutely alone and you have no one, don't hold on to that. That's a false belief. That's a false belief. If you think you have no one, you're creating that by paying attention to the connections you already have. I can tell you that in recent weeks I've had quite a few actually from all different body activation perspectives, different astrological signs, different walks of life, male and female, and they're all saying the same thing. Why am I so alone? I'm like, you're in a room with a whole nother human being. You're not alone. And you've got a partnership. You've got friends. You just told me about a concert you went to. You just told me about a tea party you went to. You just told me about hanging out with such and such. Where exactly are you alone? Because I have experienced aloneness, and I have with people who are truly isolated in a way that what you're telling me is not. So let go of the false beliefs, the connections, and lean into the ways we can release the false limitations that confine us. Have a beautiful day, my friends, and I will see you in prayer. And let's see if I can figure out how to get off of this thing.